Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones, how are you today? So, look, back in December there was a certain game that I said I would talk about, and I didn't get a chance to do that. So, I don't want this game sitting on my shelf for months and months and months, so let's just do it now. We are finally talking about Digital Devil Saga. Specifically the first one. Before we get started, consider this a general spoiler warning for Digital Devil Saga. I'm not going to be giving everything away in this video, and I'll even include an extra warning before I talk about the story's finale, but for now, you've been warned. Digital Devil Saga Avatar Tuner was first released in Japan for the PS2 in 2004, and it came out stateside in 2005 under the name Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga, making it the first title released here to falsely have the Shin Megami Tensei branding on it. A decision made by Atlus USA that has sparked several pedantic internet arguments over what is or isn't actually Shin Megami Tensei that still goes on to this very day. I'm not actually sure why this decision was made, but if I had to guess, it's probably because Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne was one of the first big breakout titles for the franchise in the West. It certainly got a bit more buzz than Jack Bros, a super Americanized Persona, one half of a duology, a set of Poké clones, and a game you probably forgot about entirely until I started mentioning it right now. Basically, I'm gonna chalk it up to branding, and they figured they'd sell more copies if they were able to quickly and easily convey that this was from the same franchise as Nocturne. The actual story of Digital Devil Saga was written by famed Japanese horror author Yu Godai. She was hired by Atlus to plot out the story, but due to health concerns had to leave at a certain point in the project, so the actual game script was tackled by previous Persona writer Tadashi Satomi, who took quite a few liberties with the original plans. Godai was eventually able to tell her version of the story in a series of 5 novels known as Quantum Devil Saga, though sadly only 2 were ever officially translated, and they cost a pretty penny for any would-be collectors out there. Lucky for me, I bought this back when it first came out. But alright, let's talk about the game itself. Digital Devil Saga opens up fantastically. We're in the middle of a battlefield, and we see combatants on both sides giving it their all. All the soldiers are wearing these gray leather-looking outfits that probably smell terrible. We see streaks of orange or green painted on their uniforms, signifying what tribe they belong to, and there's a genuine sense that this is just one battle in a war that has gone on for who knows how long. But then, in the midst of the shootout, a mysterious object appears. Neither side knows quite what to make of it, but assumes it's a trap set by their opponents, and warns them that failure to remove it will be deemed an act of war. Also, fun fact, the 2 characters that share this interaction, Gale and Harley, have the same voice actors as Kojiro and Akito from Tokyo Revelation, which I talked about in December instead of this game, so that's fun.
Warning to the vanguards. Remove the unidentified object at coordinates 2314-5873.
Warning to the embryon. Remove the unidentified object at coordinates 2314-5873.
The pod bursts, sending beams of light through every fighter on the battlefield, but clearly something much more sinister is happening. We see people transforming into demonic figures, we're met with splatters of blood and hear screams accompanying the crunching of bones, and then silence. The fighters in orange awaken, the battlefield has been abandoned, everybody got really sweet tattoos while they were passed out, and in the crater where the pod once stood, now rests a naked girl with short black hair, while this guy with the red hair desperately tries to remember if he's seen her on OnlyFans or something. Okay, the reason why I wanted to set the tone here is because I believe this is one of Digital Devil Saga's strongest points. The world and atmosphere are legitimately some of the best in all of Megami Tensei, and I truly believe it's a big part of why this game has such a cult status symbol amongst fans. The entire game takes place in a land known only as the Junkyard. It's dark, constantly raining, and so much of it seems to have been destroyed by battles between warring tribes. The architecture is this fantastic mix of diesel-punk militaristic war zones with the beauty of Hindu temples. It's just a really cool and memorable world that definitely stands out. Alright, so our main cast of characters is our orange-clad warriors known as the Embryon. There's the leader and par for the course silent protagonist, Surf, the hot-headed Heat, the gorgeous Argilla, the Cielo Mist soft drink mascot, Cielo, and Gale, the man who was tragically born without a personality.
I do not comprehend.
As for the other dozens, possibly even hundreds of members of the Embryon, they're not important. What is important is figuring out exactly what happened on that battlefield, and they figure the best person to ask would be Harley, the leader of the Vanguards who were also there when this all went down. So Surf, Heat, and Argilla head on down to Svadhisthana to ask,
what happened?
Essentially, the tattoos on their bodies are known as Atma brands, and awoken them to the power of their Atma avatars. To put it simply, everybody can transform into demons now. Surf can transform into Varna, even though the Atlas USA team later admitted it should have been Varuna. Heat can turn into Agni, and Argilla can turn into Prithivi.
Mouth boobs.
After chasing Harley through his entire base, the cornered leader transforms into Hayagriva, aka Rhino Zebra T-Rex arms, and I love him, and now he's dead. See, the main problem with the avatar forms is that it doesn't just make them more powerful, but curses them with an insane hunger and a taste for the flesh of their enemies. A hunger that, if not kept in check, can cause them to lose all inhibitions and go on a deadly rampage. But as luck would have it, that girl we rescued, one Sarah by name, is able to quell this hunger through the power of song. The power of one song, as it turns out. I'm just saying she could try mixing it up. Give us a little Africa by Toto or something. Bless the rains down in the junkyard, Sarah! Alright, but now that this is all out of the way, the main plot really starts to kick in. Surf is called to the Karma Temple, a giant structure in the middle of the junkyard where the rules and laws of this world are passed. Once all the leaders are gathered, minus Harley because we killed and ate him, a mysterious entity called Angel informs the tribes of the new order of things. The tribes must continue to fight one another, wiping each other out until only one remains, and the last tribe standing will be allowed to ascend to nirvana. And it's a good thing she said that, because could you imagine what would have happened if the new order was all about cooperation between the 6 tribes? After jumping the gun and killing Harley, we would have had quite the bit of egg on our faces. And really, the entire goal can be summed up by Angel reciting 5 of the most iconic words in this entire game.
Rend, slaughter, devour your enemies.
And that is essentially our goal. With the Vanguards eliminated, there are 4 other tribes standing between the Embryon and this supposed promotion to paradise. You've got the Maribel, who wear red and are ruled by Janana, who might just be my favorite because reasons.
Oh, look at me! I'm gonna go touch the boy!
Then there's Mick the Slug, the powerful ruler of the tribe known as the Solids, all of whom wear yellow. Lupa, the honorable leader of the Wolves that wear white, because the only remaining primary or secondary color option left was purple, and the Wolves ain't no 3rd Street Saints. And lastly, the boringly named Brutes who boringly wear blue and are boringly ruled by Varen.
Don't ever call me by that name. I am a colonel. Colonel Beck.
Alright dude, chill. And while you'd think the plot would just be a linear progression of going to each and every unique base and taking down the leader, it's not, because that would be stupid. I mean, who would even want to play a game like that? In reality, there's a fair amount more nuance to Digital Devil Saga. There are several moments where the Embryon are even willing to team up with another tribe in an attempt to take down a stronger threat together, with the intention of betraying them later. Like early on, when Argilla and Janana form a completely 100% obviously platonic friendship during their alliance to defeat Mick. This is something I actually really like about Digital Devil Saga. The Embryon are not the good guys. Like, we're not specifically villains or anything, and there are instances where they try to take the high road, but we're just fighters looking to survive like everyone else. Considering that every single random encounter in this game is implied to be a transformed tribe member, you're gonna be killing and eating thousands of people in this game with little to no remorse. You may have also noticed by now, through the visual motifs of the world to much of the terminology in this game, like Atma, Karma, and Nirvana, to even the forms your party members take, Digital Devil Saga is a game with several strong connections to Hindu mythology. I already talked about Varna, Agni, and Prithivi, but Gale turns into Vayu, and Cielo transforms into Daios. all of whom are major figures in Hindu religions. In fact, all of the major characters in the story turn into figures from Hindu mythology, except for the ones that don't. Way to muck up the theming, Cerberus! And while I'm on that subject, let's talk about Bat. He's a dickhead. As in, literally, his head is where his dick is supposed to be. His form is Camazotz, a distinctly not Hindu figure, instead stemming from Aztec culture. Bat is Janana's right-hand man, and you fight this dude more than any other character in the game. Basically because he's a cowardly turncoat who constantly betrays whoever he's following once it seems like they might lose. He sucks. He sucks so much. There is an entire dungeon in this game dedicated to setting a trap and planting bombs, and sure, we probably took out a couple members of the Brutes, but it really feels like we put a lot of time and effort into blowing up this abandoned cruise ship for the sole purpose of finally killing this one dude. Totally worth it. Speaking of the dungeons, I find them to be a pretty mixed bag. Some are really unique, like the reality-shifting Resident Evil Mansion Brute Space, or the pitfall-laden Citadel of the Solids, or even Disney World, where we get to hear a wonderful fairy tale about a beautiful princess and two princes that definitely isn't foreshadowing anything and has nothing to do with the sequel, I promise. And look, more pitfalls! Which wouldn't be so bad, except Digital Devil Saga has a frustratingly high encounter rate. And while the combat is really good for the most part, when you're just trying to get back to where you were, you may find yourself getting pretty dang sick of hearing do, 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 do. They also put a lengthy sewer level in this game. A sewer level in a JRPG! This is easily the worst dungeon in the entire game. It's long, it's ugly, and it has these stupid waterway puzzles that they don't even give you the courtesy of shutting off the random encounters during while you're swimming around trying to figure out where to go. Overall, Digital Devil Saga is a very interesting game, mechanically speaking. See, while I acknowledge that there really isn't one mechanic that applies to every Megami Tensei game, there are certain mechanics that come to mind when we think about the franchise, and chances are good that at least one of them will apply to whatever Megaten RPG you're playing. Demon negotiation, fusion, multiple endings, but Digital Devil Saga really doesn't feature any of those. Except battles do keep the press turn system introduced in Nocturne, which rewards bonus actions for exploiting enemy weaknesses and takes them away for making mistakes. It's probably the closest the franchise has had to a more traditional party-based RPG. You've got 5 playable characters, and by defeating enemies in battle, you'll not only earn experience points to level up, but atma points to master whatever mantra you currently have on, and money which can be used to buy items and, more importantly, new mantras. Mantras are easily the most important thing in this game to grow your characters, as this is how you'll acquire new skills throughout the game. Once a skill has been learned from a mastered mantra, that character will permanently know that skill, and each character's skill set can be customized at any time outside of battle. This is honestly one of the best aspects of Digital Devil Saga, learning new skills and then changing them out to fit a certain situation. Like, while Heat may start out specializing in fire spells, you may want to have him learn mantras from the ice path so he can eventually learn a passive ability to nullify his weakness. Or while I probably don't need a spell to create a shield against expel attacks while crawling through the dungeon, it could be a literal lifesaver during that dungeon's boss fight. Mixing up your skills to fit current needs is important, and it makes you feel really good when you have a party that can cover almost any situation. And in my case, almost any situation was covered by a special mantra you get for mastering all 5 elements, where you can learn the passive skill Null Attack that makes you pretty much immortal, as it nulls attacks. Have some healing spells just in case, and the passive skill that restores your MP just by walking, and I'm looking at a playthrough I can knock out before my pizza rolls are done. Unfortunately, this is also, in my eyes, one of the biggest double-edged swords in Digital Devil Saga, because simply put, this is a very grind-heavy game. You need to grind experience points to level up, you need to grind atma points to master your mantras, you need to grind money to be able to buy new mantras after all the old ones have been mastered. Yes, thankfully there are a few things you can do to speed up the process a bit, like having your auxiliary party members earning full experience, or getting AP boosts after each fight, but it's still going to be a pretty lengthy process. Do you all remember back when I reviewed Mind Zero, and one of my biggest complaints was that it felt like a 15-hour game that used grinding to turn itself into a 50-hour game? Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give Digital Devil Saga a pass for doing that exact same thing just because I like it more. All the footage you're seeing here is from my third playthrough, where I really didn't have to do much grinding thanks to New Game Plus, and I beat the entire game, including nearly all the side quests, in about 19 hours, and I'd say even a lot of that came from the aforementioned high encounter rate. When you remove the grinding, Digital Devil Saga really isn't that long of a game. Now, I do want to be clear, this is not me saying that I think the game is too short. If anything, it makes it even more impressive how much fantastic plot, story, and character growth that they were able to pack into a relatively short amount of time. I just think the grinding could have been toned down a little bit. Each character's growth feels really natural throughout the story. The characters all start pretty bland and boring, but that's by design, as they're supposed to be soulless killing machines. Every major character, party member, and foe alike has a moment where something inside of them snaps and they finally awaken to their personality, for better or worse. Heat, for example, becomes far more violent and mad in his quest for power to protect Sarah. At one point, he even sexually assaults her to show off how strong he is. Well then, I certainly don't want to use him ever again. I'll explain later. But then you've got a character like Cielo, who went from this rather quiet, soft-spoken character to this over-the-top Jamaican chatterbox.
Sarah isn't this tall, her hair is way different, and her arms ain't that thick. Ooh!
By the way, the voice acting in this game is just great. I already mentioned Steve Bloom as Gale, but you've got some big names in this, like Crispin Freeman as Heat, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn as Janana and Angel, Amanda Wynn Lee as Argilla, and the late Bob Pappenbrook as Varen.
Don't call me by that name. I am a colonel. I am Colonel Beck.
I heard you the first time. The voice cast all does a really nice job and helps sell the world of Digital Devil Saga. It really stands out as one of the first great dubs for the franchise. Not that there was a lot of competition before this, mainly it was just... But it's a dub that I think still stands out as great nearly 16 years later. Before we start wrapping things up, I'd also like to take a moment to talk about some of those side quests I briefly mentioned earlier, because Digital Devil Saga has some great ones. From traversing Didney Whirl again to fight King Frost atop his castle, to the 4 Guardian Beasts that can only be fought once you've set foot on the highest possible floor of the final dungeon. Not the last save point, no, you specifically have to climb the stairs and stand up here before they'll spawn, to even fighting the Demi-Fiend from Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, which I didn't do for this video because I just don't hate myself that much. This dude is so strong that his boss track is just the normal battle music from Nocturne, because while he's the ultimate challenge for you, to him, you're just another random encounter, which is a really awesome use of the music, I cannot lie. Doing these side quests can unlock special boss mantras to learn unique skills, and even give you some rewards when you carry your save data over into Digital Devil Saga 2. And speaking of, hey, I am about to spoil the ending of Digital Devil Saga 1, so if you want to play and experience the ending for yourself, you can go ahead and skip ahead to this time and bypass the ending. After defeating Colonel Beck, whose awakening is why he was able to remember who he was in reality, he essentially tells the characters the truth about who they were as well. Sarah remembers who she is and why she's here in the first place and heads to the Karma Temple, which we now have to climb because Atlas just loves their giant towers, don't they? It turns out the 5 members of the embryon that actually matter were originally AI programs that Sarah created based on people she knew in the real world. So essentially, and I do apologize for the Persona 5 comparison, they are more or less cognitive versions of people Sarah knew in reality. Angel, a scientist from the real world, teamed up with the military to create the junkyard as a sort of war simulator, and eventually decided to test the demon virus on the AI programs inside of it, making the entire game up until now essentially one big test for Angel to collect data. Once the embryon chases Sarah to the top of the tower, Angel transforms into Harihara in what is... not the best final boss fight in the series, honestly, and after defeating her, she starts destroying the junkyard as well as everyone in it. While most of the group, including Angel, manage to get out before the system collapses, Surf seems to be having some trouble, and Sarah tells him that she'll find him. And then the credits roll. Before we see a post-credit sequence where Surf wakes up in a dusty and destroyed city, the streets littered with human statues, and the camera pans up to an ominous black sun before the game asks us, are you ready for the real world? Again, much like Mind Zero, this game ends on a cliffhanger, but at least with this title, it seems as though they went into it knowing the sequel was happening, and this does do a great job laying the groundwork for Digital Devil Saga 2. Overall, I think it's really easy to see why this game is considered such a classic in the franchise. The characters are memorable and have great vocal performances. The junkyard is an amazing setting, filled with elements that leave a lasting impression. The combat and skill set system both work really well, even if it is a little grind heavy, and the rock tracks and electric guitars of Megaru's soundtrack are phenomenal. Digital Devil Saga more than earns its status as a cult favorite amongst players, and is definitely a must-play title for any Megami Tensei fan, or heck, really any JRPG fan should give this one a playthrough. And so that brings us to Digital Devil Saga 2. It is not as good. Good night, everybody! Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, be sure to click like, but if you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Extra special thanks to all my friends and loved ones over on Patreon, which you can pledge to today to see your own name in these ending credits. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.